Thanks for staying with us this morning. We continue our legislative look as we look at the session getting started, and we're joined by Garrett Love, who is the Senate Ag Chair. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on the show.
You're very
Bryan.
welcome. Ag's been a bright, shining, beacon on the hills, the governor might say, for the state's economy. How do we continue to keep ag rolling as we struggle to find money to pay for schools and other issues we have?
Yes, agriculture, and this is something I try to remind our friends maybe not as involved in farming and ranching, but agriculture is still our state's #1 industry. And like you said, it has been a shining spot for our state and a big part of our state's growth over the last 5 years. And one way to not do that is to come in and increase taxes on farmland by 300 or 400%, which a couple of legislators have brought up in the last couple weeks, which I think is scary. I don't see it happening, but it would definitely be a problem. As chair of the Senate Ag Committee, I've prioritized working with the Department of Ag for them not to come in as overly burdensome on farmers and ranchers, but let's support our farmers and ranchers. Let's work with our farmers and ranchers to continue to grow agriculture and help grow our state.
Well, we look at all the regulations, and a lot of regulations coming out of the federal government. Look at the lesser prairie chicken, you look at the waters of the U.S. How involved are you working with the Department of Ag in dealing with those issues?
Well, we've been trying to push back as much as we can in both of those areas. When it comes to the lesser prairie chicken, that plain and simple ends up becoming a rural development tax. When it comes to these rural areas, when they're, I've talked to oil companies that said they're not going to go into this county because of the fee or the tax they'd have to pay within the prairie chicken rules. And that hurts our communities. You have some programs where they say, for wind farms, for oil and gas, for building new homes, and then the fear of if it is put on the endangered list of what that means for ag practices on what you can and can't do. Same way with waters of the U.S., having the federal government come in and controlling, which that's what it is, both of those things. They're just wanting more control over more land is also scary, and it does not support ag in any way, and it certainly hurts it and hurts its growth and the opportunity that can come from agriculture. And in Kansas, after agriculture, we have energy, which is obviously a big part of extra income for many farmers and ranchers, and a big part of our economy in Kansas and revenues to the state. And both of those hurt both of those industries.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about kind of the elephant in the room, which is the 50-year water plan that the governor put in place, and also school funding. You're watching Kansas Ag Report, and we'll see you in just a minute.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Farmers Insurance, your best protection against the unexpected. Call Agent Dan Key at 785-408-5459. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. Blue River Traders, the finest selection of Western-style furniture for your home. BlueRiverTraders.com.
Thanks for staying with us. We're joined by Garrett Love, who is the Senate Ag Committee Chair. In the previous segment, we were kind of talking about the waters of the U.S., the lesser prairie chicken, and tax issues that farmers face. Real quick, let's talk about the 50-year water plan the governor has put in place through the Kansas Department of Water. I'm sure that's a big deal you guys are dealing with.
Yeah, it sure is. And water is, when it comes to agriculture and the state level on what we can and can't do, is our #1 priority. And water has driven our economy. In western Kansas, Ogallala Aquifer is worth billions of dollars to Kansas and to our economy. And so preserving that is very important. As you know, it has been depleting. We've had the few years of hard drought. And as we look at it, you look out 30, 40 years, and we're in really bad shape. And so I've really commend the governor for saying, let's not just keep sweeping this issue under the rug, let's try to do something about it. And he put together a 50-year water visioning process where stakeholders from around the state came in and got involved and got engaged into trying to say what's the best way to preserve our water for many years to come. So far, we've taken a couple steps just in the last couple of years of getting rid of the use it or lose it policies where you've had producers and also cities come and feel like they have to use this water or else they're going to lose their right. And that's the worst thing we can do as a government, is encourage people to use things they don't need. It's the same way with budgets. You hate when you do that, where you encourage an agency to all of a sudden use all this money at the end of the year, because they end up wasting a lot of it. It's the same way with water. So we got rid of that. We started putting together these multi-year flex accounts where people can, if they don't use all their water in one year, they can use it in the next, and the next after that. And ultimately farmers know the best way to use water. And so encouraging that has been a big part of it.
Well, talking about budgets, Garrett, rural communities, farming communities who pump a ton of money into the state's economy are struggling with school funding. You know, some of these schools are having to consolidate and close, but they're the backbone of the state's economy right now. What do you say to those people?
Right, and I come from a small school, 1A school, played 8-man football, had about 24 people in my class when I graduated, not too long ago, about 9 years ago now. And so certainly appreciate the value of our rural schools and what they provide. And as a legislator, that's an important part of my approach, is having a strong education system that focuses on kids, because that's what it's about. It's about the outcomes. It's about the kids that we're graduating, what they're going on to do, and that's one great thing about our country and about Kansas, is you have the opportunity to go as far as you want and go as hard as you want, and education is a big piece of that. When it comes to funding and also consolidation, I think another positive thing is the governor has said very clearly he's not for forced consolidation from Topeka, which there are a lot of legislators out there that would force consolidation if they had their way. So we fight back against that all we can to make sure there's nothing forced out of Topeka in that way, and also in trying to make sure there is enough funding going to our schools. We have increased funding in the last few years. There was a lot of disagreement on what the total dollar amount was, but more money has gone into schools, and that has been important. I think has been important for these communities, and we'll continue working for our rural schools.
Garrett, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
It's Garrett Love, Senate Ag Committee Chair. You're watching kansasAGreport. See you next week.